So the thought of people being like, oh my God, the government is not gonna get my information. It's kind of like, you're a little late now, buddy. That's been happening. Now, obviously, there are security risks to this because hackers could definitely hack a certain website and get a lot of IDs from a lot of different people. The place I work at, it got hacked and they had to pay like $14 million. Well, it looks like the government is trying to spy on us again. So if you haven't been hip to the recent news, YouTube is now requiring IDs to watch and is going to ban certain content based off of the age that it thinks you are. So this all started with the hub. Obviously, the hub now requires you to put your ID in, which is definitely a problem I've never ran into. Yeah. Anyway, it requires you to put your ID in to verify your age, ultimately to make sure kids are not being exposed to content that they shouldn't. Which honestly, in the hubs like case, I do think that's really a good thing. And the reason I say this is because when I was younger, actually some kids played a joke on me where they told me to look up something called the color red and 2. If you don't know what that is, don't look it up. But they told me it was a website about superheroes and anime and things like that. And I was pleasantly surprised. Well, not pleasantly. Anyway, I was surprised when I saw what type of website it actually was. And obviously, kid me had no idea what I was getting myself into at the time. So honestly, I think having an age and ID verification on those types of websites probably isn't the worst thing. Now for YouTube, I feel like it's honestly just going completely overboard. Because honestly, I just feel like it would be really difficult for the algorithm to determine what age somebody is by the type of content they watch. The reason I say this is because me, myself, I like watching a lot of YouTube content about video games. I like watching a lot of YouTube content about childish things like cartoons and stuff like that. That type of stuff is my comfort stuff. At this point in my life, I don't really like watching YouTube videos that require me to be super deep in thought. So sometimes watching childish things is a big relief to me, and it's like my comfort entertainment. And I know a lot of adults who are like that too. I know a lot of adults who still watch SpongeBob, regular show, watch video games, play video games like Minecraft, all because it's like comfort to them. It's not, and not for any other reason besides that. So I think that the algorithm is probably going to catch a lot of these people. I ain't gonna lie, I don't really know how in-depth the algorithm goes, to be honest. I don't know if it's gonna be like, this person watches this content, but he watches this type of content, so he can't be a kid. I just feel like it's really not gonna go that far in depth. It's probably just gonna be like, he watched the Minecraft video once, so he has to be 8. Definitely not referencing my head there, just to clarify. I feel like it's kind of overboard for YouTube to do this, especially when they already have a system that age restricts certain videos. So I don't really understand the reason why they would have to require an ID from you, besides them wanting to spy on you and spy on what you look at. I think it's just a clear attempt to make that happen because a platform like YouTube should not have to do this. And I heard it's going to other platforms like Spotify. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I've had Spotify for a long time, and I feel like at this point, they should know that I'm not a kid. But if I get on my Spotify and I have to put my ID just to listen to the music I already listen to every day, I'm gonna be pretty upset, bro. I'm not gonna care. But honestly, at this point, Spotify is so ingrained in my life that I just can't let it go. And I think it's that way for a lot of people too. It shouldn't be that way for the hub. But as far as for YouTube and Spotify and things like that, people aren't gonna let that go. So honestly, I think we're just gonna be put in a position where we're forced to give IDs, unless that is you use a VPN. Trust me, I understand if it's really the government's idea to keep kids off of these websites and things like that. But honestly, I just can't get with that because I know there are so many features, at least that Apple has in their phones and their devices, that keep kids from getting on these websites anyway. If you don't know, if you're a parent and you give your kid a device, you actually can go on a device and block them from searching certain things. You could block them from getting certain apps, and you could block them from even spending a certain amount of time on the internet. So there are so many parental controls already on the phone that I don't understand why the government feels the need to put it in their hands to stop them from doing this. Because ultimately, I'm a really heavy believer in where there's a will, there's a way. And if somebody wants to get on these websites bad enough, they'll be able to do it while bypassing all of these extra things that they have to do. Now, as far as the hub, I really do understand, because I feel like all it takes is one accidental search to start a whole rabbit hole in the life of gooning that you ultimately don't want to get that. But for things like YouTube, bro, where they're just watching content, I don't think it should really be that deep. In the future, I really feel like it's only going to get worse and worse, especially if this is something that ends up being accepted by the public, which ultimately it probably will being. Then they're going to require ID for everything. They're going to require ID for Netflix. They're going to require ID for Hulu. They're going to even for Disney Plus and stuff like that. I think it's just only a matter of time before it just infects itself into more things. And to play devil's advocate, like I said, I know it could be good things that come from that, and there could be bad things for sure, but I don't know really how detrimental it really will be. Is it annoying? Yes. Should it happen? Probably not. But besides a few minor inconveniences, I don't think it's really gonna be that detrimental for our lives. Because I hate to break it to you, bruh, the government is spying on us anyway. Do you know if you go to court, they could pull up all your old texts, even the ones you deleted out there, recent deleted. Every time you use Wi-Fi, every time you're using data, your information is getting collected. So it's not like something is happening that's not already happening, to be honest. Maybe it's waking you up to the realization that it is, but this has been happening as soon as you got a plan, my boy. So the thought of people being like, oh my God, the government is now gonna get my information. It's kind of like, you're a little late now, buddy. That's been happening. And I must say, you are a bit conceited to think that the government really cares that much, but you're waking up at 2 in the morning. Obviously, there are security risks to this because hackers could definitely hack a certain website and get a lot of IDs from a lot of different people. If y'all didn't see, that actually recently happened with that T app that they need to get y'all IDs anyway for. And I feel like if hackers know that you have to put your ID on every single website that you use, it's only going to motivate them more to try and find loopholes into getting into it. Which honestly, I feel like that is the biggest negative to all of this. And this does happen. The place I work at, it got hacked and they had to pay like $14 million to get all the information back. You tell people that they have to put their ID to use your website, that's all you're inviting, to be honest. The new ID age is here. I mean, you gotta accept it or get a VPN. That's what I've been doing for the past like 5 years. So get with it or get your information taken, to be honest. Tell me how you feel about the new ID thing with YouTube, Spotify, and all the other different platforms. And please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. Thank you for tuning in. Go tune into some of my other videos. You'll probably like them. Thanks. See you next time.